Hello, good afternoon. I'd like to talk to you about the joining the dots between connectivity, hardware and management in a cohesive IoT ecosystem. But to begin with, just a little bit of background on my company, Pod. The word pod originated from proof of delivery. So it's before the words of iPod, and now it's become very popular. So we could have made some money if we painted it at that. So the company's been going since 1999, and we've developed, originally was a proof of delivery box. And from that, the technology, the box, we were way ahead of our time. And now with obviously Amazon, the deliveries and all these various other methods of proof of delivery, I don't think the world was quite ready for us at that time. However, the technology that we used for the proof of delivery box was patented, and now we use that as an M2M platform. We started off with devices, and now we've developed into a billing platform, a SIM management platform, and we're also integrating wireless as well. So going on to where we are today, we're looking at mission-critical applications, what they need in the IoT arena. All the buzzwords, we've seen them along the last 20 years, M2M, and now it's become IoT. It's really an important thing to look at reliable solutions with the experts behind them. Telematics-grade connectivity, roaming access across boundaries. I was talking to some customers earlier. It's really important for people in certain territories to have multiple networks on the same SIM card, which we can do, and also across countries. So if you had a truck roaming across the world, it would be able to connect to the individual networks in that country as well as onto others. And it's also useful to have expert support, engineers and network specialists to help you with your research and innovation. It's an evolving technology. I think the IoT area is still in its infancy, and it's got a long way to grow. And it will do that with the cohesion and the partnership of everybody involved. So it's to do with hardware, software, platforms, SIM cards, and it's the standards as well. So if we go on to the connectivity to build your platform, it's a good idea to have unrestricted roaming, no network steering, custom global SIM profiles, and multi-IMSIs. Multi-network SIMs connect to the best available signal at startup and then switch from one particular network to another to avoid the failure, single point of failure. Coverage remote environments, of course, is an important thing. If you're in, if anybody's been to the UK, with the remote parts of Cumbria, for example, say your network will drop unless you've connected up to another stronger network in the same area. So this is a really important thing if you're mission-critical IoT applications to have connections at all times. Emerging network technologies, this is all a little bit of a buzzword at the moment because of 2G shutting down, 3G and all the other technologies that are coming up. We've got LTE, Cat1, EU ICC, NB-IoT and LPWAN. It's the low power radio networks which are becoming quite popular, which work well with cellular by using base stations. It's important to make sure that your technology is future-proofed and have a really good look at the technology that you might be taking on for the next 10 years, because a lot of these systems will probably be phased out, and have a good bit of research into NB-IoT, for example's sake, and EU ICC. That's a standard which hasn't quite come into play yet, but it's really where you're putting multiple networks on the same SIM. It's really useful when you're using eSIMs, because an eSIM is a component which is soldered onto the circuit board of a device. It could be a phone, tracking device, any type of electronic tracking or communication device. And once you're tied into a particular network with an embedded SIM, that's it, because it's soldered onto the board. So it's a really good idea to open that network up and have multiple networks on the same SIM. Moving on to the coverage, as you can see here, with the NB-IoT and LTM, the coverage at the moment is limited, but it's growing, and this is how it's going to work over time. So back to sort of future-proofing again. It's easy to use many different technologies, but it's best to use things that are interoperability with keys, so it's flexibility and agnostic. It's difficult to get change when you're wanting to move on and progress with your technology and your performance if you're tied into a particular technology or a particular platform or a method. So it's a really good idea to have an agnostic approach to your software and how you integrate with your suppliers, your network, hardware, etc. IoT systems built for compatibility, so that you're not tied into any particular technology component working together. We've had situations where we test SIMs with particular devices to make sure that they operate perfectly without any issues. It's a matter of testing the whole system end to end. So right from the SIM card, the connection, all the way through to the device, through to the platform, and if necessary, if you've got the other end, payment as well. As you have to make sure that the other end, that there's obviously a revenue stream for the data that you're using. This is a case study where we've been working with a company called ERM, where we've been using SIM cards in their devices, which has resulted in a 70% retrieval rate in the areas of the Latin America and US, which has been a very successful case study because the amount of revenue that's been regained from those retrieval rates has been substantial. One of the advantages of this particular device is it clocks things like acceleration braking, left-right turn, heavy braking, deceleration and speed bumps, etc. So it's a useful device. And I'm sure that many others do the same things. It's really just a matter of getting the right partners, the SIMs, the platforms all to work together. Centralized control and billing is something that is another important element. Some companies leave the SIM cards to their customers. We always encourage people to take control of everything so that you control not only the device, the platform, but also the connectivity. If you leave your SIM cards to your customers, then you lose that element of control. It's also a really good opportunity to gain some revenue at the end of the day with tiered and hierarchical billing. So you can bill it on to your reseller, the reseller can then bill it on to their customer. Centralized system creates more revenue opportunities, and you can get analytics. You can obviously get an idea of the data. The data is much more valuable these days than most people imagine. So you're able to then collect that data and use that to be able to predict what your business patterns will be in the future. Security is another really important issue with any IoT device. The devices themselves are quite monofunctional. They don't have the capability to install anti-malware, antivirus. So what we do in that situation is we can provide security monitoring of the network. So if it picks up any unusual peaks or traffic or movement on the network, these things can be pinpointed, and then that particular device can be shut off or reviewed. IoT security is quite intricate, and it's all to do with a matter of making sure that you're keeping ahead of the attackers, basically. So it's a matter of threat detection, network infrastructure, it monitors all the traffic and learns normal behavior, and then alerts the user. IoT applications need more support than most because they're quite complex, involving a lot of different technologies, different devices, platforms. So it's when you're having or supplying IoT applications, it's good to have some really good support behind you, somebody who really understands what the device does. For example's sake, in our case, we deal with a lot of companies from tracking to telemetry to cameras, so it's useful to have that experience across many different industries. And support must come from experts in your application. It's useful to have people who know what they're talking about when it comes to those individual industries. And to have follow-the-sun support, critical support in the global markets, 24/7 support is essential. And remote mission critical roaming applications must have expert support around the clock. Why race to the bottom? Create a valuable premium product to outperform your competition at every stage. So in summary, with the billing platform, the SIMs, and using a platform like Wialon, the APIs from our system can be integrated seamlessly into Wialon and other platforms. It creates a whole rounded and unique solution to your customer. It's good to take control over everything, as I mentioned earlier, not from just the device. It's good to have an idea of what is going on in your customer's environment and how best to help them. And to be agnostic as much as possible so that it allows growth and it allows your customers to build their business in 5-10 years' time without having to replace all their equipment, platforms, SIMs, etc. So with integrated platforms, layer security, customer connectivity, companies can gain a real value from a cohesive IoT ecosystem. So that's me. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, by all means, fire away.
Thank you so much, David. Do we have any questions from the audience? No questions. Okay, great. Thanks again, David.
Thank you.